"Let my daughter-in-law work. I won't give any money," the mother-in-law declared upon learning that her son wanted a share of her property. "What do you mean? Who is this old woman?" Catherine burst into the room and saw Emma, her husband's grandmother, napping in her new chair with her eyes closed. "Our house smells like old age. Joseph, get rid of this woman immediately. I won't tolerate this." "Is this your wife, Joseph?" Emma squinted and reached for her glasses, seeing her daughter-in-law for the first time. "Why are you just standing there? Get her out!" Catherine continued to shout. "Where am I supposed to take her?" Joseph was flustered. "I don't care. If you don't move her, I'll throw her and the couch down the stairs. 5 minutes, or else I'll do what I promised." Catherine and Joseph had met at work. The beauty had started as a secretary for Joseph's uncle. The man was deeply married and perhaps would have flirted with the striking brunette, but luckily his wife sat in the next chair and they shared a secretary. "If you chase after this skirt, I'll fire her tomorrow and hire a well-built young man. It will be pleasant for me and easier for you," she told her husband. She then told Catherine that in the next office worked the boss's nephew, Joseph, a desirable bachelor who had his eye on the newcomer. The woman hadn't thought Joseph would seriously pursue the secretary and instead of breaking it off, would marry her after a month of dating. Joseph's mother, Linda, was horrified by her daughter-in-law. Fake lashes, Wolverine-like nails, fish-like lips, and a lack of intelligence all came in the Catherine package. Nevertheless, the girl quickly realized that Joseph was infatuated and did everything to marry the single Muscovite. Catherine herself had come from a provincial town, had no place to live in Kansas, and eagerly moved into Joseph's apartment. Initially, she tried to charm not only her future husband, but also her potential mother-in-law. But unlike her son, Linda had eyes and a mind unclouded by love, and she immediately understood what kind of character Catherine was. The potential mother-in-law expressed her displeasure. "Don't marry her, son. There are so many girls around, beautiful, smart, talented. Why do you need this one?" "I love her. I don't want anyone else," Joseph said. No matter how much his mother tried to reason with him, it was all in vain. They applied for a marriage license and set the wedding date. "We decided to invite only close ones to the wedding," Catherine said when Linda resigned to her son's marriage. "I'll have very few guests." "Don't you have close ones?" "My mom is sick, and I don't want to invite my sisters." "Who's this?" Linda looked at the guest list. "That's a famous blogger. She must be at our wedding." "Your friend? Relative? No, just someone important." "Important? How so?" "She'll promote me. She'll tell her followers about our wedding. My social media page will become popular, and I'll start earning online." Catherine said her dream was to run her own blog with beautiful pictures, not make coffee for the boss. "I see. Joseph, you forgot to add your grandmother and your cousin." She added several more guests to the list herself, but the invitation never reached the grandmother. The day before the wedding, Emma was swindled by fraudsters. The money she had saved for a gift for her grandson was gone, and Joseph found out about it. He informed his fiancée, and without consulting anyone, she crossed the grandmother off the guest list. "Did I misunderstand something?" Linda called Joseph. "Catherine said there's a more important guest taking Grandma's place." Joseph was ashamed, but he couldn't lie. "Grandma is sick anyway, and can't give any gifts," Catherine added. "No comment." Linda hung up. She didn't recognize her son anymore. She didn't tell Emma about the wedding, fearing the woman would get upset. She said the young couple would just sign the papers. Linda attended her son's wedding alone. She came without a gift. Moreover, it turned out that the unwanted gift came from the uncle, Catherine's boss, on whom she had counted. "What's this? A painting! What use is it to us?" Catherine nearly ruined her own wedding with a scandal. "What did you expect?" Joseph was ashamed of his wife in front of his relatives. "Your relatives have lots of money and they gave us something. Why did I spend so much time with them, hinting that I needed a car? Who did I marry? A pauper? Or Kansas? A car? Yeah, look online. Every second person gets cars, apartments, yachts. Are you a businessman or not? Or is your company in trouble?" she asked the boss boldly. Linda couldn't stand the disgrace any longer. She left her son's wedding, and some guests, also accused of stinginess, left with her. The wedding didn't pay off. If I'd known, I wouldn't have organized such a celebration. Catherine ruined not only the wedding, but also the first wedding night. She demonstratively counted the money in the envelopes and accused her husband of his relative's stinginess. It ended with her locking herself in the bedroom, not letting her husband in. Joseph received nothing but reproaches that night, but the colder his wife was, the more he wanted to win her over. After the incident, Joseph's uncle, not wanting to work with the brazen girl, transferred her to another department. "Only because she's your wife. Anyone else would have been fired for cause," he told his nephew privately. Joseph nodded. He wrote a transfer request and moved to follow his wife, even though his salary there was lower. After the wedding, Catherine began setting her own rules in her husband's apartment. "The decor is old. I'm throwing all this out." She pointed at what she deemed unnecessary. Soon, a famous designer and blogger came over to redo the apartment and give it a modern look. "Joseph, I got the estimate. We need to pay." She threw the papers on the table after the designer's visit. "How much?" Joseph was stunned. "What did you expect? Beauty requires sacrifices." I don't have that kind of money." "Ask your mother for it. She's well off, isn't she? Your apartment is rented out almost downtown. Where's the money going?" "I haven't really asked. I'm fine with how things are." "Typical. You're not Joseph. You're just a pushover." "What?" I said, "You're not Joseph. You're a pushover. Your mother is sitting on money and you're working as some second-rate programmer. If my mom had so many apartments rented out in the city, I'd be a queen, not running around serving coffee to my boss. Do you know how he looks at me? I wouldn't be surprised if he soon asks me to stay late in his office for more than just work." Joseph tensed up. He didn't want his wife to be treated like a prostitute. The next day, he talked to her new boss and told him that his wife would now stay at home. Catherine left without a second thought, and her boss didn't cling to the lazy worker either. Having lost even a semblance of occupation and income, Catherine began to constantly pester Joseph, demanding money. "Catherine, darling, I've given you everything I had. I don't even have enough left for shaving cream. I'll have to grow a beard." "A beard? You'll look like a goat with a beard." "Why?" "Because you're just as stubborn and dumb. How many times do I have to tell you, go to your mother and demand that she share the money?" His wife was so convincing and persistent that Joseph thought it over and went to Linda. "Mom, we're struggling financially. Catherine wants to renovate, and besides, let her work. I won't give any money. I'm not a savings bank. But actually, the apartment you're renting out belongs to me too. So by law, you should give me a share of the rental income." Linda was speechless. She never thought her well-mannered boy, Joseph, would talk like that. "If you don't share, I'll bring the police and evict the tenants. It's my share too, and I'm entitled to demand it." At first, Linda wanted to kick Joseph out and cut off all contact with him. But after thinking it over, she suddenly agreed. "Fine, but on one condition." "I agree," Joseph nodded without even asking what the condition was. The next day, Linda came to her son's home herself. She brought an envelope with money and handed it to her daughter-in-law. "Here, but I need your signature. Received, date, place." "Easy." Catherine provided the receipt and shut the door in her mother-in-law's face. She didn't even invite her for tea. Not that Linda had intended to drink tea with that girl anyway. "Ask your mother when the next money will come. The chair arrives tomorrow and I want a matching sofa." Catherine decided to update the furniture gradually, realizing that a large fortune wouldn't fall into her lap, so she decided to draw money from her husband's family bit by bit. Linda arrived a week later, this time without an envelope. "I don't understand. Where's the money?" Catherine's eyes widened. "There are problems with the tenants. They asked for a deferral." Linda pretended to be helpless. "Rent out the second apartment." "Where should I live then?" "Go to Grandma's." "Why do you need 2 apartments?" "Joseph and I get by in a 2-bedroom, but you have 2-bedroom apartments for each of you." "I'll think about what can be done," Linda said, and a few days later her belongings appeared in her son's apartment. "What is this?" Catherine was surprised. "Why did you come here with your things?" "I rented out the apartment, so we'll have to share space." Joseph and I agreed. "I'll give part of the money but live with you," the mother-in-law reminded her son of the condition he had ignored. "And where's the money?" "The money will come later." From that day on, Joseph's apartment became a living hell. Catherine set her rules, and Linda broke them. Joseph was caught between the two fires, but his wife had more influence over him than his mother, and Linda suddenly realized she had miscalculated. "That's my drying rack." Catherine almost lunged at her mother-in-law when she saw her hanging laundry on the balcony. "What do you mean? Where should I hang my clothes? I don't care! Get your clothes out of here!" Catherine grabbed Linda's laundry and pretended to throw it off the balcony. The older woman barely managed to grab the clothes. Her first impulse was to slap the girl with the wet laundry, but her refined upbringing didn't allow Linda to do so. She silently took her things and left. To her mother, "I raised you too well, Linda, and you raised Joseph poorly. Spoiled him. Let's go. We need to put this brazen woman in her place." Catherine was pleased. The blogger had finally posted the video from her wedding, and now it was just a matter of time before hundreds, thousands of followers flocked to her page. She even bought a bottle of wine to celebrate this small victory. The next day she had a photo shoot planned. Now that her page would finally become popular, Catherine needed to create good content, which meant she needed new photos. Her good mood wasn't even spoiled by the thought of her hated mother-in-law living with them now. Catherine's plan was to eventually kick Linda out to her mother's place, so the money from renting out both apartments would keep filling Catherine's family budget without Linda being around. But for that, she needed to prepare a bit and secure Joseph's full support. However, she already had a strong influence on him. He couldn't say a word against her. He was afraid, and Catherine had leverage. A positive pregnancy test she had shown her husband. When Joseph found out his wife was pregnant, he forbade his mother from trying to educate her. Every conflict now ended with Joseph taking his wife's side. Catherine turned up the music in her headphones to full volume. Soon she wouldn't have to take the metro anymore. Catherine opened the door, walked straight to the kitchen without taking off her shoes, and put the wine to chill. Then she climbed onto the couch, not expecting her husband to be home already. "Hello," Joseph said, surprised to see her. "Bring me some strawberries," Catherine demanded in an imperious tone. Joseph sighed and reached for the fridge. "Bring some for me too, Joseph. Why eat alone?" A woman's voice startled Catherine. "Who is that?" she asked. What the hell? Who is this old woman?" Catherine stormed into the room and saw Emma, Joseph's grandmother. "Why are you yelling? Bring the strawberries." Emma ignored her daughter-in-law's outburst. "It smells like old age in a bathroom in here. Joseph, get rid of this old woman immediately. I won't tolerate this." "Is this your wife, Joseph? She seems a bit unhinged. How are we supposed to live together?" Emma asked. "Joseph, why are you just standing there? I won't live with her. Your crazy mom is bad enough. Get her out." Catherine continued to yell. "Where am I supposed to get rid of her?" Joseph looked bewildered. "I don't care. If you don't, I'll throw her and the couch down the stairs. I won't sit on it anymore. It reeks of old age." To demonstrate her seriousness, Catherine pinched her nose and tried to push the wheeled chair towards the door, but with Emma in it, the chair was quite heavy and her attempt was unsuccessful. Catherine swore. "Sweetheart, don't strain yourself or you'll give birth early," Emma said calmly. "And that wouldn't be good for you, would it? You want to have my grandson's child, right? I broke a nail because of you, because of your family. I hate you!" Catherine screamed, kicking the chair Emma sat on. "Calm down. Grandma will stay with us temporarily." Joseph tried to mumble something, but his wife slapped him hard across the cheek and stormed out of the room, heels clattering. 5 minutes to get everything sorted, or else I'll do what I promised. I'll go to the doctor and get rid of the baby." "Be my guest? Want the address? I've already arranged it with the doctor. They'll see you without an appointment." Emma shouted back. Catherine slammed the door and left. "Grandma, why did you say that?" Joseph ran after his wife, but she was nowhere to be found. She didn't answer his calls. Later, when Linda came home from work, she found a bottle of wine in the fridge. "What's this?" she asked her son. "I don't know." "Your pregnant wife decided to have a drink?" Joseph didn't reply. "Here's money for the nursery renovations, but Grandma and I will stay with you for a few months until the tenants leave," Linda said, handing her son an envelope. Joseph didn't know what to say. He understood that his wife wouldn't want to share the apartment with his mother and grandmother. Nevertheless, Joseph knew he had no other source of money, and his wife's incessant demands and questions had worn him down. Despite his feelings, he was tired of it all. With his mother's arrival, he realized he had rushed into starting a family. Catherine didn't cook, didn't keep the house clean, and constantly yelled and called him a loser. Moreover, she yelled at his mother, which Joseph didn't like. But fearing to make things worse, he tried not to intervene in the women's conflicts. He often sided with his wife, fearing she would get rid of the baby. "You're blinded by love, my dear. She's not a wife. She's a mistake," his grandmother said, looking at him. "She has no feelings for you. She's just using you until she finds a better match. We're having a baby." "Really?" Emma asked, raising an eyebrow. "A baby should bring a family closer, not tear it apart. Are you sure that's what's happening here?" "Don't you want to check?" Catherine returned early in the morning. She was behaving rather brashly, likely having taken something at the club. After rudely addressing his grandmother and him, she collapsed on the bed and started snoring. Emma, having worked as a doctor all her life, skillfully drew blood from her daughter-in-law without waking her. After sleeping it off, Catherine took the money and left again. In the evening, a sports car pulled up to the house. Joseph was coming home and saw his wife getting out of the driver's seat. He couldn't believe his eyes. "Catherine? Oh, Joseph, perfect timing. Film me as I get out. What's this car? Where did the money come from? I saved up and rented it, with the money my mother gave for the nursery." "So, what about it? I thought you cared about our family, and I thought I was marrying a man, not a loser. Come on, it's getting dark. Film the video quickly." Catherine handed him her phone, but he refused to indulge her. He went home. While Catherine posed for the camera, Joseph was having dinner, lovingly prepared by his mother, and his grandmother was carefully packing his wife's things into a bag. "What's this?" Catherine saw the suitcases by the door. "Your crazy grandma and mother are finally leaving us?" Instead of answering, Joseph took the bag and went to the garbage chute. "These are your things, dear. 1, 2, 3. "I'm throwing them out, and the next to go will be the pregnancy test results. I know you lied to me." "Joseph, we're getting a divorce. Stop leading me on, and they found a lot of interesting stuff in your blood. I've already reported it to the authorities, so get ready. What you did warrants a charge and at least forced treatment," he said, slamming the door and locking it from the inside. Catherine yelled and pounded on the door, but Joseph didn't let her in. After she left, Joseph felt awful. He was very emotional because feelings don't disappear instantly. "Go to sleep, son. Morning is wiser than evening," Linda said. "Divorce her unilaterally and quickly before she crashes that car. Otherwise we'll be paying off her debts forever." Joseph understood this and agreed with his mother. When he went to the bedroom, Linda took the chilled wine and quickly poured it into glasses, handing one to her mother. "Well, let's celebrate?" "Exactly. Here's to our boy growing up. Let's hope he not only grows up, but also gets wiser," Emma said, and downed her glass.